Morning, everybody. As we go to the Chita, so today we go to the Chumash. We're holding the first parsha, the parsha of Vayikra. We're holding Friday, the sixth reading of that portion. We're holding on chapter 4, verse 27. This actually is a portion of a Karban Chatos, personal Karban Chatos, which says when you learn this portion, is as if you brought a Karban Chatos. To forgive on all our sins that we did unintentionally. If a man, person, from the people of your land will do a sin by mistake. From the people of the land, which will do one of the commandments of God, which he's not allowed to do, and he will incur guilt, he'll realize he made a mistake. Or if his sin that he committed was made known to him, somebody tells him, he finds out, he realizes that the sin that he did was actually a sin. He thought it wasn't. Then he brings a sacrifice. See, it is him. He brings an unblemished female goat, tamima al chatose, for his sin, ashachata, that he sinned. He leans his hand forcefully upon the head of the chatas. And he shechs the chatas in the place of the Eilah, which is the north side of the Mizbeach. And then the Goyin takes from his blood. With his finger. And he puts it on the corners of the Mizbeach. From the Mizbeach of the sacrificial offerings. It's called Dama, and the rest of the blood, Yishbech, you say the Mizbeach, he pours it to the foundation of the Mizbeach. It's called Chelba, and then he takes all the fats. Yasi, take away all its fats. He took off the fats from the peace offering. And the Kohen will bring it on the Mizbeach as a smelling offering to God. Keep it all of our Kohen. And the Kohen will bring kapara on him, and he will be forgiven. Now she says, like in parts burnt offering, the goat mentioned on the category of a peace offering. There's where we learn one from the other. Keves Yahweh, if he brings a sheep, Karbani will be a sacrifice. Lachatos has a sin offering. Nekeva again needs to be a female. Tamima needs to be unblemished. If he should bring it. He puts his hand on the head of the chatos. And he slaughters it. Lachatos for Karban Chatos. The Makam Yishchat, in a place where he slaughters the north side. The place where he slaughters the burnt offering. Now she says, the Chatas again come to teach us that the Shrita has to be done for the sake of this carbon. The Kohen again takes from the blood of the Chatas, the Etzbay with his finger, from his back, and he puts in the corners of the altar of the sacrificial altar. It's called Mizbeach, and the rest of the blood he pours on the foundation of the Mizbeach that goes into the ground. Verse 35 is called Yasin, and all the fats he takes off. Like he takes the fats of the sheep, which was the peace offering. And the Kohen brings it upon the Mizbeach, Alishi Hashem, on the fire of God, so to say, and the Kohen will bring forgiveness on the sin that he has done, and he'll be forgiven. Now it says, just as the sheep fat is removed, whose prescribed parts offered up to the altar are increased by the additional tail. The sheep had a fatty tail. And likewise, in the case of a female sheep brought to the sin offering, it too requires the tail to be added together with the prescribed parts on the altar. The tail was important because it was the fattiest part of the sheep. Alisha Hashem, upon the fires prepared by man, for the Lord, which is the obligation of the Kohen to make sure that there's a fire on the altar. Chapter 5, verse number 1. The nefesh gives accept of a person's sins, whereby he accepts an oath, who aid, or he was a witness, or he's seeing something, or yada, and he knew something. V'loi im lo yagid, if he doesn't say, doesn't testify, v'nasa aveni, shall bear his transgression. Now she says regarding some matter he witnessed, meaning they adjured him to by oath to effect that he knew if he knew anything regarding the matter, that he would testify for him, and he made a vow in vain because he said a lie. So to a person who touches any unclean thing, whether it's a dead animal, dead unclean animal, or dead unclean domesticated dead unclean animal, or the dead creeping thing, tame, touches a dead mouse, whatever, and it's hidden from him. So what they were talking about, that it was impure by mistake. He didn't know that he touched something. Then he realized he touched something, but that time he already went to the Beis Hamikdash, let's say, or he touched something pure, truma. So now he has to bring a carbon. It says, and after consequently acquiring this uncleanness, he eats a holy thing. He eats a carbon, or he enters a sanctuary, which constitutes a sin, which if committed willfully, he got cut off by God. So therefore he did this unintentionally. It was hidden from him that he was impure. That can happen a lot of times. That's why they made special posts in the Beis Hamikdash asking people, are you pure? Are you 100% pure? And that's why there were many mikvahs found around the Beis Hamikdash, because you should go to the mikvah, even though you're not sure, you should go to the mikvah. Because it could be you became impure, you don't realize you're impure. And he made a mistake by eating sacrificial offerings, or that he entered the sanctuary. So the guy could have come to the Beis Hamikdash, brought a sacrifice, and then he finds out actually that he touched something that he shouldn't have touched, and he was impure. So he couldn't come to the Beis Hamikdash, he couldn't bring the sacrifice really. But he did it unintentionally. Let's say a person touches a dead body into a funeral. In any kind of uncleansed that he becomes defiled. Example, he came into a building that there was a bed, but he didn't know. And he goes and he goes to the Beis Hamikdash. Then somebody tells him, you were in this building. There was a dead body there. And if you're in the building, you become impure. And so you have to know the law is not always, but you could have come impure if in that same room or your next room, it's open, the doors. And now he realizes, finds out, and he becomes, in essence, he realizes he did something wrong. He was impure, and he went into the Beis Hamikdash. Now she said, this is a dead body. This also includes the case of uncleanliness required by a zav and a zava, all these discharges that people have that also make you impure. Now this comes to include if somebody, and they gave a boil nida, somebody touches a man who cohabited with a nida, for example. So somebody was a woman that's impure. If a man had a relationship with her, didn't know that she's impure, but he becomes now impure. Now this person touches him. But that's just Rabbi's boil nivlas. This phrase includes one who swallows the carrion of a kosher bird. So if he that's tummy, because it's carrion, it was not shechted. Benelam, and he knew, but he'd forgotten the uncleanliness. He knew he did it, but didn't remember that it's unclean. V'ashem, and again he now by mistake went into the ate sacred food and went into the sanctuary. Today we don't have this problem because we don't have no sacred food and we don't have a sanctuary. Verse number 4. If a person swears, expressing with his lips to do harm or to do good, any expression that a person makes with a vow, and it was hidden from him, and then he knows v'ashem, and he feels guilty. La'achas meila, from any of these things. Rashi says, b'sosayim, he said a statement, v'lei belev, he didn't say with his heart, he just said it with his mouth. La'ara la'atzmei, to do something negative against himself, like he says, I'm not going to eat bread anymore. Oila hativ, or to do something positive about himself. He says, I will eat, or I will not eat, or I will sleep, or I will not sleep. The chalash is bata. So here you have general, specific, general. This phrase comes to include the oath regarding the past. If you swore, I ate, I did not eat. And he consequently transgressed against his mouth. So he said, I'm not going to eat. And then he ate by mistake. That can happen. And this is the case that the person brings what's called in halacha oila v'yored. It's an offering, a scale offering, as explained here in the passages. That there's certain offerings, the korban chatas, certain offerings you had to bring an animal. Certain offerings you didn't have to bring an animal. If you didn't have the money, you can bring a bird, as the Torah says, or you can bring flour. So a regular sin offering needs to be an animal. Can't downscale, so to say, even though if you're a poor person. Person brings a lamb or a goat or 2 turtle doves, young dove, or a mealofik, depending on how much you can afford. That's called an oila v'yored. It goes up or goes down. It's according to the scale of the person's capability. If he'd done any of these guilt things, what's mentioned in the previous verse number 4, Bizvada, and he confesses, which he said, I made a mistake. And he brings, the scale is, if he can afford, he brings the nekeva, he brings minatzayin, he brings from the sheep, and kifsa either from the goats or from the sheep. The chatas is a sin offering. And the kohen will bring forgiveness. Verse number 7. If he doesn't have enough money to bring a sheep, they can bring 2 total doves. It means old, either young doves or regular doves. He has to bring one for a sin offering, one for a burnt offering. He brings to the kohen. The kohen would bring the chatas first. He cuts off its head. Mimul arpay, from the back of the head. He doesn't separate the head from the body. She said, in a sin offering must precede a burnt offering. So what is it compared to? That's who enters the place, appease the king. Once he appeased the king, so first goes the chatas, and then after he appeased the king, the oil is the gift. So when you anger a king, that's the nashal. You first have to appease him, and then you can give him a gift. Rashi says he cuts through one organ, esophagus or the trachea. This is a very hard thing for the kohen to do. He didn't do it with a knife; he did it with his finger, with his thumb, nail. Oiref, Rashi says this is the high part of the head, slopes down towards the neck. The back surface of the head is called the oiref. Verse number 9. And then he sprinkled the blood of the sin offering upon the wall of the altar. And the rest of the blood, Yimtza al Yiseda Mizbeach, he should put it again on the base of the altar. Chatasu, this is the korban chatas. Rashi, in the case of the burnt offering, Scripture requires only motzi, pressing out the blood. But for the sin offering, it's both hazah, sprinkling the blood, and motzi, pressing the blood, are required. He grasps the oiref, or the some of the earlier edition, he grasps the bird, and he sprinkles the blood, and so the blood spurts out onto the altar. Chatasu, again, the bird was sacrificed for the specific purpose of a sin offering. The offering is valid. However, if it's not sacrificed for a specific purpose of a sin offering, then it's not valid. That's what that was the first bird. But Hasheni, the second bird, Yasa Eli, should make it as a burnt offering. Mishpat, according to the laws of a burnt offering. The Kohen will forgive him from the sin, which he sinned, and he shall be forgiven. She says, Kamishpat, we already mentioned in the beginning of the Pasha, the laws that begin the Pasha, the portion which deals with the burnt offering of a bird. You can look it up in chapter 1, verse number 14 to 17, concerning a burnt offering that was given by a dove, through a dove. That completes the Chumash for today. We now go to the Tanya of the day, which begin chapter 37 of Tanya. The previous chapter, beautiful chapter 36, the Alter Rebbe explained the statement of the sages. God desired a abode for this lower realm. Sava Kadosh Baruch Hu is the dirba tachtenim, which refers to the physical world. This is the lowest realm of worlds, the term of the degree of revelation of the divine creative power. And in this world, it's hidden in this world as it is in no other world. And then God desired precisely this world. He wanted a world that would be hidden and that a human being would reveal it. And it pervades as it's double and redoubled darkness, and as his abode, where his presence would ultimately be revealed to a greater degree than it's revealed in the higher worlds, without any concealed garments whatsoever. That's the greatness of this world. That ultimately, this dark world, what we think is so bad, it's actually the whole purpose of creation. And the Eibishter will ultimately be revealed in this world like no other world. That is no other even spiritual world that is created. This will come to pass when we will see this revelation by Mashiach, the period in which the world has originally created, when the godliness will be manifest through the world, so that all the nations of the world will experience divine revelation. So that's it. So Mashiach is not only for the Jewish nation, Mashiach's for the world. The world will have a revelation. Now the Alter Rebbe is going to go into Yemei Mashiach. Explain to us a little bit of what it means, Messianic period. And then Tchias HaMesim, Olam Haba, the world to come. The world when there will be resurrection of the dead. The ultimate perfection of the Messianic era and the time of resurrection of the dead. What does that mean? That's the point. The point is that why will there be resurrection? Because there'll be revelation, there'll be no death. And there'll be the concept of a total revelation in this world that the dead will come back alive. In this physical world. But self-understood, this comes about through avodah. This doesn't happen out of nowhere. This happens it's dependent on our action and divine service throughout the period of exile. That means this is a culminative, the last thousands of years, there is a culminative chain of events. Everything that's happening in the world is all happening throughout history. Historical events from the time of Matan Torah until today. It's all a collective situation that's happening throughout history. Part of this chain of events. We didn't come from nowhere, and we're all collectively we're creating something and giving to something, not only to this generation, but to all generations. For the mitzvah itself that causes meaning it creates its reward. The Rebbe notes, unlike, for example, the wages paid to an owner for a field to the laborer who plowed and plants it, where the laborer does not create the money he paid. Right? The labor doesn't create the money, the labor creates fruits and vegetables. And then the owner pays him for that. So there's two different entities. There's the laborer, and then what the owner gives him. It really has nothing one to the other. The laborer doesn't want the work of his labor. He wants to have money. And the owner doesn't wants to labor his work. He wants the tomatoes or whatever the guy's doing. So the owner doesn't want the money. He wants the building. So everybody has it's a separate agenda. Schar mitzvah, meaning that the work, my labor, is not that I'm going to get another reward. The labor is the reward. Because the labor that I'm doing the mitzvah is gila l'kus. So right now I'm bringing revelation in the world. I don't see it. So that's why the reward is the mitzvah. The only difference is now I don't see it. Mashiach comes, I will see it. But right now I receive the reward. It's not something that I'm going to get later. I received it right now. Schar mitzvah. I got what I wanted right now. I did the mitzvah for the sake of revelation, and it happened revelation right now. It's not happening later. I see as a mitzvah, because when a Jew does a mitzvah, mamshicha adam, you have to realize when I do a mitzvah, you do a mitzvah, we bring down godliness right now. Gilu Ein Seif Mamata Mailamata. Right now, as I say, when we're learning Torah, right now, we bring down Gilu Elikos. We're bringing down God in the world right now. L'slavish begashmis elamazeh, to clothe itself in this physical world. In this physical world, like I said, the world is made up of time and space. Siddur explains, Kabbalah explains, Olam Shana Nefesh. Olam is space, Shana is time. So right now in this time and in this space, wherever you are, time and space, we created a time and space for God in this world at this present time. We took it away. We all could be watching Reveisvas. We all could be doing whatever. And we decided not to do that. We decided to take this time and learn Torah. We decided to take time and the space that we're in and make it a place for God right now. I don't see God. That's a problem. But that's the reality. The reality is that right now, so the mitzvah accomplishes right now. Because I took it away from the domain of Klippa, this time and space. I put soul into it. I put God into it. I put my own soul into it. And I put God, which is God. And I revealed in this time and space, I pushed away the impurities. And I received vitality for this Klippa. Namely, all pure permissible object, which the acts of the mitzvah is being performed. So by performing a mitzvah, a man draws ain and safe light upon the object which he's performing. When we're learning Torah, what's the object? And it is the space. I made time, I made space for God in this world. Alter Rebbe now illustrates his phrase, pure permissible objects, in which the act of the mitzvah is performed, citing an example. One object for each of the three categories: animal life, vegetative, and inanimate life. So, for example, when I put on a tefillin, klafat tefillin, mezuzah, sevitera. For example, parchment for tefillin or mezuzah, sevitera, which must be made from skins from permissible kosher animals. So I took a cow, took its skin, kosher cow, took its skin, and made a tefillin with it. I've taken a physical thing, transformed it into a mitzvah. When I was saying, as our sages say, the mitzvah objects, only which are pure, permissible to eat, may be used. So the parchment derived from such an animal is, however, under the domain of Klippa until one uses for tefillin. When the mitzvah goes down upon the parchment, revelation of Ein Seif. So today in the morning I put on tefillin. I connected Ein Seif with this physical parchment, leather parchment, on parshas, on portions that are made on parchment, etc. So too, if I use an esek, sheina orla, which is not an esek that's grown in the first 3 or 4 years, because they are forbidden fruit. The first 3 years of harvest, I can't do the mitzvah on it. Umois hatzdaka, and then I give charity. Sheina gezel. I didn't steal this money. So this money is my money, and I gave charity with it. But I could use it for anything else. I could use it to buy food. I could use it for my own pleasures. I decided to give it to somebody else. Being godliness by that action. Meaning other physical objects used in forms of mitzvah, all of which were previously in the realm of klippas noiga, like we learned in Chassidus, Tanya. Klippas noiga means it's capable to go either way. I can use this money for physical pleasures, or I can use this money for the sake of heaven. So that's why it's called klippat noiga, a cover that shines. I have the capability to do either way. Well, as the expression is, if I stole money, God forbid, ain't mitzvah above aveda. So if I stole money, I can't give charity because it's stolen money. So therefore, can't do a mitzvah with stolen money. Because the mitzvah is an aveda. I mean, because the charity is self-understood. The money that I stole is not mine. So meaning other physical objects used to perform mitzvah, all of which are previously in the realm of the klippat noiga, as the Alter Rebbe will conclude presently, are now merged into divine light. So now I take the klippas noiga and I use it for kedusha. Now I elevated the klippat noiga. I took the money, which can be used for good, and I used it for good. So I moved it from the realm of a flexible concept to good or bad, and I used it for good. And now merged into divine will by serving the purpose of a mitzvah. So reference to the early stipulation that an esrog not be arla and charity be honestly required. The Alter Rebbe notes, because arla, I can't take arla. Arla is arla. It's prohibited. I can't say, you know what, I'm going to use this for a mitzvah. You can't. It's not a mitzvah. If I take arla, if I take a etrog that's in the first 3 years of its tree, which in Torah law is arla, you're not allowed to use it. I can use that as to make brachas every day, and it has no value. Oh, but I'm doing a mitzvah, has no value. Because the point is that the Eibush says, I come into an esrog that is fit to be used. I don't come into an esrog that's unfit. Shein aliyah, we cannot rectify it. You can't say, you know what? I'm going to shake it harder. I'm going to pray harder. I'm going to do the bracha with more intention. It's not going to help anything. This fruit is unfit. And therefore, you can't make a bracha on it. So if you take a lemon, for example, it's not the right vessel for this iron safe to come into a lemon. It's not going to work. Because of Eitz Chaim, as it brought down in Eitz Chaim. That's why the mitzvah, you need to know how to do the mitzvah. Because the Eibishtik tells you exactly which fruit needs to be used for this mitzvah. And so to any mitzvah whose performance involved a transgression, God forbid, since a sinful act received its vitality from 3 incomplete, unclean klippas, that's why you need to do tshuva on such an avera, because it's not possible to be elevated. It's not possible, because that's why it's called klippas tameis. It's called unclean klippas, unclean coverings. The resulting mitzvah cannot elevate it. So I cannot do a mitzvah above avera. A mitzvah that comes through a sin does not work. Because again, the whole purpose of this mitzvah is to reveal godliness in it. And if God says it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. So all my kavanas and all my good intentions has nothing to do with the reality. So I can have good intentions, and I think that I'm doing this correctly, but still, it doesn't work. It's impossible. It doesn't work. And therefore, we need to know how to do a mitzvah. And we're going to do an esrog. We're going to use an esrog. It should be a kosher esrog. We're going to give tzedakah. Should be charity for non-stolen money. Self-understood. We do any other mitzvah in the Torah. We do it kilchasa. We do it according to its law. And we do the mitzvah correctly, because that mitzvah at this present time, schar mitzvah, the reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah, because at the present time, if I do the mitzvah correctly, I'm revealing godliness. Oid ain't safe. I'm revealing a gilui of godliness in this world that this revelation at this present time, this revelation is a revelation that no other worlds reveals at this present time. Mitzhem, Mashiach comes, I will see all that was revealed. My eyes will open. That's that basically my eyes are covered. I will, not that it's not here, it's just my eyes are covered. I'm wearing very thick sunglasses, and these eyes are covered, it cannot see it. Not that it's not here, chas v'shalom, it's actually here. Thus that we're going to see revelation. But revelation, godliness is here right now by the mitzvah that I do right now. If I do it correctly, don't do it in an incorrect way, self-understood. But I do it correctly, I have a gilui elokus, I reveal the essence of God at this present time, which will merit Shem be able to see this revelation when Mashiach comes. That completes the Tanya of the day. Today is the 12th day of the month, I'm sorry. Today is the 12th day of the month, which is chapter 66 to chapter 68. If you do those 3 chapters, you do Chitas. I wish you all a wonderful day, a wonderful Shabbos, a wonderful Shabbos. I hope that you learn Chitas on yourself, by yourself tomorrow. And tomorrow is Shabbos Zachar, the reading of the Zeicher Amalek, destruction of Amalek. Everybody should come and hear this reading. And Amir Shem, tomorrow night at 8:30, we're going to do the Megillah. Come dressed up. I don't want to recognize anybody. I want everybody to be unrecognizable. And don't forget, Purim is on this Sunday. You have to hear the Megillah on Saturday night, and you have to hear the Megillah on Sunday. So we have a couple of readings on Sunday. In Shem, the first reading is going to be around 9:15 in the morning, and then we have other times till 4:30, which you can come to Chabad and hear the Megillah. I wish you all a wonderful Shabbos, a happy Shabbos, a healthy Shabbos, and God bless.